Okay, we are live. I'm gonna play the trailer.
Okay.
Next episode of The Grudge.
Prove to him, like, hey, we can do it without you. And Pat Riley wants to say, no, you can't. You never could. And you let me go.
12 epic rivalries across 8 different sports. The Grudge. Pat Riley versus the Knicks. Wednesdays, 10 p.m.
All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Tuesday afternoon. We got a special edition of KnicksFanTV. My friends over at Vice have this new series called The Grudge, diving into sports' most intense rivalries where egos clash, redemption is sought, and the legendary showdowns are born. And on the season finale, which airs tomorrow, it is about the Knicks and the Heat rivalry. The Grudge, Pat Riley versus the Heat. And on today's show, joining me today to talk about it was someone who knows his history very well. He is an award-winning sports writer, has been on many platforms, including ESPN and the Washington Post. But during his time here with the Knicks from the 94 to about 2004 with the New York Times, he did cover the Knicks, and he goes by the name of Mike Wise. Mike, how you doing, man? Welcome to Knicks Fan TV.
CP, your reputation precedes you. With all the people you've had on, I know you were 10 when all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you can talk to the old guys about this today.
Yeah, and you know, it was this story kind of started my fandom. You know, I go back to, as you see the dunk on my wall, Starks over Jordan. That was like that time. But, you know, shortly after that, it was when Riley left and shifting into from Knicks Bulls to Knicks Heat rivalry. That was really what got me into this team and into the sport, because it was that, you know, unscripted part of sports that really captivated me. And no one told a better story than the Knicks and the Heat. And you were right there in the front.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was unbelievably exciting. I hear people talk about, oh, that wasn't basketball. There were like 70, 80-point games. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it was a rock fight. Every possession was valued. And there was something about it that, I mean, even though it was more physical, even though it was less skillful, it was drama. It was drama to the highest T. And gosh, I think the Knicks today would give their left arms for that defense against the Pacers in the last series.
No question. And, you know, when I think about that, the rivalry between the Knicks and the Heat, I mean, it was so captivating for me that to this day, I cannot support anything that the Heat do. Anything that Riley and that happens with the Heat, they're always in the back of my mind. It just makes me angry. Anytime the Knicks can beat the Heat in the regular season, postseason, it takes me back to those my childhood memories. But you know, that memory where the Grudge started was really with that fax that was sent in by Pat Riley announcing his resignation by the Knicks. When you were covering the team, when did you remember that, you know, when the time when that relationship started to splinter and that he would actually leave?
Well, this was, there's a great moment where you remember the 95 series against the Pacers where Ewing goes in. Well, it was obviously Reggie Miller wins that game in what crazy fashion, game 1, the choke game. But then game 7, Patrick goes in and he's got a bunny layup. To this day, he probably kicks himself that he didn't dunk it. He misses. Essentially, that moment that ball came off the rim, Clifton Brown for the New York Times, who was covering the beat at the time, I could see him on the television, like smiling, like, yeah, I can now get off the Knicks and go onto the NBA column, because the Knicks it was crazy. And he was always laughing. And that was the end of Riley and the Knicks, that moment, from that on, because there's no way that Riley was going to re-sign a deal based on the fact that the corporation at that time was being sold. I mean, Paramount, the whole thing was a huge deal, and they couldn't get any consensus from Riley whether he wanted to return. Riley wanted a piece of the team. There was all these factors going around, and secretly negotiating behind the scenes was Mickey Arison, the owner of the Heat, and Pat Riley, who, and this was my first real story. Like the moment I was covering the Nets, and I got a call from the office, and they said, "You're on the Knicks," and boom, everybody took off for use their Marriott points and their hotels for the summer. Meanwhile, Mr. Me, I'm like, I got the Knicks. And so I started calling around, and it wasn't within a week. And I'm sure it was because I was the new guy, and it was the New York Times, and it wasn't that I was some magical, Bob Woodward reporter, but it was like I almost had that story spoon-fed to me. I won't say who, but all of a sudden said I couldn't get a copy of the document of Riley asking for all these things from the Heat. Like his wish list was crazy, CP. Yeah. He wanted a helicopter. He had a per diem of like $500 per day. I mean, he wanted everything but dancing girls in his room. It was crazy money at the time. I don't know what, nowadays it looks pretty sane, like $3 million or something a year and a piece of the team. But and I got to view this document, and all of a sudden I started copying everything down, and boom, I had my first huge story in the New York Times and that summer. And then week after week, I kept learning more stuff. And of course, you know how it is with reporters. Once you learn more, people start talking to you. Or they don't talk, or the people that don't talk to you don't want it coming out. All of a sudden, you have more information than the person you're talking to, and then they spill all the beans on the whole courtship, how Riley got down there, and it incensed. I remember it incensed Dave Checketts, the Madison Square Garden president. It incensed everybody at the Knicks. Because they thought that if they didn't think Riley was going to be their guy, they thought he'd at least wait till the ink had dried on his separation before negotiating with Miami.
Hey, can you remember when you go back that far? Like, I know it was a laundry list of demands that he made, but when you were going through your research, was there like a wow moment, like something that you found like, man, this is unbelievable right now in terms of their courtship of Riley?
Well, when I talked to one of Riley's good friends who was like a partner with him on some other business thing, his name was Dick Butera. And this guy basically, God bless him. I hope he's still with us, but if he's not, he basically gave me all this inside dirt on the whole thing. Like, look, I'm gonna tell you, you can't use my name. You can use my name, but you can't say I spoke to you. It was one of those things. But you can't, if it comes to me, say decline comment. But he gave me the whole song and dance where I was just no. You're telling me Riley's going to take this job, and he's down there negotiating with him, and he also gave me Riley's side, which was he kept getting this song and dance from Dave Checketts in Madison Square Garden, and gosh, who was head of the Garden at the time? He oversaw the Rangers. He oversaw everything. The whole thing was toxic for Riley. He didn't know where he stood as, he knew he was going to be long term, but his big thing was, if I'm going to be signing a new deal with the new owners, I at least need some kind of guarantee over I'm doing the personnel. Not everybody. I'm the main. It wasn't going to be Ernie Grunfeld. It wasn't going to be Dave Checketts. I'm going to be the. What was that line from Parcells back in the day? If I'm going to do the cooking, at least let me shop.
yeah. Shop for the ingredients, right?
Yeah, and so Riley felt that that's at least what he needed, and I think he needed a piece of the team too. Looking back, the Knicks thought they were turning over everything. In hindsight, to this day, they probably wish they did.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. And then so now he goes down to Miami and pretty much builds a carbon copy of the Knicks, and that's what made things so fascinating because, if you pull, it's almost as if like you pull Pat Riley from the story, you still had Ewing and Alonzo, the Georgetown, the mentor, the mentee. Then later on you had LJ versus Alonzo, the two guys who had some personal issues from Charlotte days kind of spill over into this thing. You had the hotheads in terms of Tim Hardaway and John Starks. I mean, you still had so many polarizing figures that that actually were playing the game that still made the story captivating.
Oh, there was so much drama. And yeah, there was, I mean, it's now it can be told kind of thing. At one point, Larry Johnson, went out with Alonzo Mourning's future wife.
Right.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of animosity at that time. Now, having known Tracy Wilson for a long time, and seen her with the Zoe, it's like, now it's like water under the bridge. The boyfriend in high school you said no to, right? But at the time it was we dated the same girl. We dated the same girl. It's on. And this boiled into not just basketball, but they were throwing punches on the full floor during the playoffs.
Yeah, no question about it. And I spoke to LJ about that last summer, just in terms of, he was very regretful just being suspended in 97 as part of the Ward Brown brawl, and then getting suspended again 98. We're going at it with Alonzo personally, because I did ask him, like, man, you were a big part of what the Knicks' plans were in terms of getting to the championship, and 2 pivotal series, you weren't really there for them.
And shoot, and I still remember Van Gundy hanging on Alonzo's leg, trying to get him away from hurting LJ or LJ hurting him. And to this day, it looked like a Chihuahua biting a mailman. I mean, it was hilarious. Yeah. And I was like, obviously it was serious in the moment, but it was it just added to the drama. I mean,
insane.
It's why you grew up not liking anything the Heat did.
Period. Yeah.
It went beyond. It was healthy sports hate.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and so with the Ward Brown fight, were you there for that game in '97? Yeah. Well, take me through that from what you remember.
Wow, it was clear. It was game 5 of the series. It had already been won by the Heat, and they'd staved off elimination because they were up 3-1. And for I don't know, it was like one of those end of hockey game skirmishes where the other team's got its ass kicked, but the losing team wants to send a message for the next game or something, but that wasn't the case. Like, the Heat were up, and all of a sudden PJ Brown, and I'm not saying Charlie Ward was innocent.
Yeah,
he was a scrapper. He could get into it, but it was like a free throw, and literally Charlie Ward gets cartwheeled out of bounds by PJ Brown, ends up behind the baseline, and all of a sudden it was on. Guys start throwing, pushing, shoving. People want to know what, and then the worst case scenario, a bunch of the Knicks left the bench. I still, because I worked for the Washington Post for 10 years, and Ernie Grunfeld became the general manager, president of the Wizards for a long time. I got to do a lot of mea culpas with Ernie, and like, oh man, maybe I was too rough. And he goes, I saw Jeff one day, and we said we didn't realize how good we had it. I don't know what we were thinking. And he said, and he and Jeff say this. I haven't talked to Patrick about it. Patrick's obviously the coach of Georgetown for a while, and I should have asked him about it. But they swear, and a couple other players I talked to swear that team who had just got a hold of Allen Houston and Chris Childs free agency and LJ that summer, that team, it was a 56 or 58 win team. They believe that team could have beat the Bulls. Yeah. That was the one team of all the teams that could have beat the Bulls. And you go back, and I thought the last day of the regular season, the Knicks beat the Bulls on their home court.
Yes, they did.
Starks hit some crazy 3 at the end, and they were 2-2 for the series. And I don't know if Patrick was healthy enough. Maybe he was, but I believe that if the Bulls were going to go down in that second iteration of Michael, those 3 championships, that was the year.
That was the team. That was the team.
And I think it kills all of them that they left the bench. And Van Gundy looks at as his biggest coaching regret to this day, that he couldn't have kept those guys from getting off the bench, because it really did spoil a good thing. And anybody, real quick, CP,
yeah, good.
Anybody that says that somehow David Stern, Adam Silver, the league is in for the big market. And then they always wanted New York to win. And they gave them that Ewing pick in the frozen lottery. Like, bullshit. I'm telling you right now, bullshit. Because if any point in the league's history, they had a chance to influence a New York outcome,
It was that
David
one.
Stern didn't have to suspend all those guys.
That's true.
Patrick Ewing only got to half court. But because it was deemed away from the bench, and this is half court on a brawl that's underneath the opposing team's basket, not in front of their own bench, he didn't even participate in the brawl. He didn't get in there, but they suspended him because it was the letter of the law.
Yep.
And David Stern had to throw the book at him. And oh my gosh, that was it, man. That was it. Once they lost those players, some suspended for game 6, some suspended for game 7. The series was over, and the Bulls ended up pushing the Heat out in 5 games. It wasn't even a series.
Yeah.
We're talking a series that would have went 6 or 7 Knicks Bulls and would have had crazy ratings numbers. And people say, "Oh, it was Jordan. You know, maybe he wanted to give Jordan another easier path." No, they wanted a Knicks Bulls series would have outdrawn the NBA Finals between the Jazz and the Bulls that year.
Yeah, easily. And once again, we're talking to former Knicks beat reporter Mike Wise, and we're talking about the Grudge, Pat Riley versus the Knicks. You can watch the season finale, which airs on Wednesday on Vice. Very good. I got a chance to watch that yesterday, and it was a very good.
What did you think?
It was good, man. You and Ira did your thing, and I just love the the music in the background. And again, I'm getting back into my kid mode, they showed the suspensions, and I'm getting angry again. But hey, for 4 straight playoffs, they did lose that one, and they got their revenge each year after. And it's even crazier that these teams would meet for 4 straight. The 98 when we talked about LJ versus Alonzo, and then 99, the 8th seed defeating the 1 seed with the Allen Houston runner. Beautiful.
That was a job saver for Jeff Van Gundy.
Yes, it was.
Think about that. If they don't win that game, they'd already cleaned house because Van Gundy had won the battle between him and Grunfeld. Checkitz chooses Van Gundy only because he either talked to Patrick or he knew deep down that Jeff had the respect of the players, and Ernie, for whatever reason at that point, didn't, or he didn't have as much reservoir of goodwill as Jeff did among the players. And that was the only reason. And yet you talk about the fine line in sports. I'm not saying Jeff goes on to coach Division II college. He probably gets a job as assistant somewhere, but he does not become Jeff Van Gundy, the little coach who could get the Knicks to the finals and gets a job in Houston, and all these things that happen later on. And it was all because of that one play. And this didn't make it in the series, but there was a moment when Jeff is sort of like goes to see Riley after that game, and it's the total mentee, the mentor, and there's this real animosity between them at that point. And he walks in, and the first thing Riley says is, "You had to play." And he goes, "You had to play." And the moment that, whatever seconds that were remaining, Jeff had dialed up this triangle 1 or whatever it was, where Allen Houston comes around these picks. And if he's open, get him the ball. And he throws up this runner that bounces in and up and hits the front of the rim and drops in. Like, Riley was like in the chaos of that series and everything. You had to play. And I think Jeff, even though he went sideways with Riley later on, never trusted him again, especially after he fired his stand.
Yeah.
When the Heat were on their way to their title that year, I think he felt like, damn, I finally got the respect of the old guy.
Yeah. Super interesting, man. And Jeff quickly became, as a result of all those years, my favorite Knicks coach to this day. And when you see all these revolving doors of coaches, people always pine for Jeff Van Gundy to come back. And thankfully, he's found new life with the Clippers. A lot of the Clippers give him a lot of credit for getting that defense going. And a lot of times you watch Jeff on the bench, he's standing up more than Ty Lue. So seems like he's definitely
you can tell
happy.
He's re-energized.
Yeah.
I'm still a little bummed. Not that I don't like ESPN's coverage, but I'm still kind of bummed that he was doing such a great job in the booth.
He was great.
He had serious basketball insight, but he had something that hardly any of us have today, CP. It was levity.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
he had that pause for, wait a minute. It might be Knicks Heat. It might be the most important thing in the world at that moment. It's still sports.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people have that anymore.
They don't have it. They don't have it. So it's unfortunate that they made the change. I don't know. People say maybe he was a little too critical, but I thought that he spoke for a lot of people at home. And that I found myself agreeing with Coach a lot of times, even when it was on the negative side. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see when Shaq, Chuck, and Kenny, especially Chuck, comes and starts going off on something. And we loved it on TNT.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute. Not only you're a network partner with TNT, but you're a network partner with an organization that has given the league billions for network rights.
For sure.
I wonder how that, I hope they don't change at all.
Yeah. I hope not, man. And that Van Gundy Riley story was great. Was there anything else from that Riley Knicks Heat era that you didn't report on that you wish you would have? Anything come to mind?
I don't know. I think I reported on everything at some point or another. I mean, things would come out because Riley was so introspective. Everybody either talked or went to their gut emotions. And I still remember this was maybe because people felt sorry for Pat that he was losing all the time to the Knicks, or at least he got a modicum of respect at some point and some real anger from other people, because I got him after a Heat practice. I think it was 2000, before the 2000 series, which they lost as well. I think it was before the 2000. So at that point, they lost 98, 99, and they'd been in it for 3 years. And now this was the fourth iteration. And it was sort of like, all right, Riley's getting not to the end, but like he'd been coaching a long time. And he admitted to me after a practice, he goes, I go, dude, was there anything you would have done differently? Anything when you were in New York? And he just goes, I had Rose sitting on the bench. I had Rolando Blackman sitting on the bench. I could have given him minutes, and I stayed with Starks.
Stayed with Starks.
7. And he goes, and you could see him. I mean, we're talking 6 years after the 94 finals.
Wow.
When Starks shot 2 for 18, and Riley's like pained. Like you could see him like angst, and he's up against this practice bleachers where they were after their practice that day, and he goes, Rolando Blackman was right there. All I do was give him a few minutes. And I for the life of me, I thought John was going to start making. I thought, and to me, that's the beauty and the curse of Pat Riley. He invented John Starks.
Yeah.
He took a dude that was like bagging groceries at the Piggly Wiggly in Oklahoma, who was not going to be in the league anymore, to be like this. I think also John Starks made an all-star team once. Charles Oakley made an all-star team once. It was unbelievable. And here was the guy that, the grit dude that you take at the gym, even though everybody else is more talented because of his heart. And that dude in that moment, could not put a shot to save his life down. And Houston goes on to win that championship. And Riley believes that if he would have made that switch, they would have won that title.
Wow.
And he would have brought a championship back to New York. And I think he said they never got closer again. And I think that kills him.
Yeah. Very interesting. And, you were covering that team kind of after that, Riley, after the Ewing, and kind of the start of what I call the dark ages. Do you believe that Riley leaving had any impact in terms of culturally on this team as they kind of shifted ultimately? Yeah, they did make it back in 99, but after that, it was, 20 years of darkness, man, for the most part. What do you think?
No, you're right. And I don't want to, look, I left for the Washington Post in, 2004. I don't want to say it was me, but it probably was me. It was me, CP. Me leaving. Look, you can laugh at that. I mean, once I left Isola,
yeah,
Mark Berman,
yeah,
Barbara Barker, Steve Popper, Alan Hahn, bless his soul, Ian Begley. Like,
yeah,
are you kidding me? It went downhill. No. But I think you're right. I think it's a good insight, because if Riley didn't take the soul of the Knicks, then he clearly he clearly left a bitter taste in their mouths. And the one guy who was still preaching, practice what he preached under Riley was Jeff Van Gundy. Tough defense, play together. Nobody's beyond anybody else. And when Jeff left, I don't know what it was, 2000, 2003, it was that was it. The things that kept them together. It's always one of those things too where you talk to yourself and you go, why did they do this? Why did they do this in hindsight? And I look at it. What do they got? Construction in the background? I got a crank. Can you hear that?
No. You're good. You're good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And so I'm thinking to myself, why do they, and just the way they celebrated almost when Patrick Ewing was traded to Seattle, like finally we get rid of the albatross holding back our offense. Well, guess what? Things didn't get better after that. Things never got. I mean, Riley, for whatever you think about him, he ended up winning 3 titles, 2 as, the president of the team, 1 as a coach with the Miami Heat. Yes, LeBron and Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade was all part of those championships. And who knows if they even win one after 2006, if Dwayne Wade doesn't doesn't pair with Chris Bosh and LeBron James. Mm-hmm. But I look back on it now, and the Knicks are still pining for that one title since '73, and the Heat, an expansion franchise, mind you, in '89, now have 3 titles, more than the Knicks in that time period, and that's got to be a little dissatisfying. And I think everybody has regrets about how it went down. In hindsight, I don't think anybody would have done things. I think some people would have done things differently, mm-hmm. But people talk about the Shark Tank, the cesspool that could be Madison Square Garden, and trying to negotiate the ugliness of power structures as you're trying to get your way as a coach or general manager or a team. They talk about the ugliness and the politics and the gossiping. That was going on then too. Mm. That was going whether.
Oh, don't tell me I lost him. Hang on. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. CP the Franchise here. We have, do we have Mike back? Hang on. Oh, we almost lost. He had a pivotal time, man. Go ahead. Finish what you were saying. Hang on. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that there was something about when they call it a Shark Tank.
Yes.
When they call it it's a cesspool, getting through all the corporate navigation to do what you want and be who you are in that franchise. That was going on then too. I mean, Bob Gutkowski, president of the Madison Square Garden, Dave Checketts had great team president for a while, and a bit of a showman. He was almost the carnival barker. He could talk up a storm. All that was all that was happening. And don't forget that moment when Jeff Van Gundy found out that Phil Jackson was negotiating with the Knicks behind their back. It had the same earmarkings of Riley and the Heat. But this time it wasn't Dave Checketts who was angry about the unethical corporate behavior. It was him doing the deed.
Yeah.
He didn't think Jeff Van Gundy was the coach of that team.
He did not. Why do you think Jeff left? He just picked up one day, man. He was like, I'm out of here, man.
I mean, this is ridiculous, but not that, maybe the Gambino crime family is a bad analogy, but there was something about Madison Square Garden that was like the mafia. And Jeff's whole thing was, I gotta get them before they get me. I gotta get out before they get me.
Right.
And if you talk to Tom Thibodeau today, this is exactly what he would say. They want him. They got him in front of Sparks Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Jeff Van Gundy got out of the limo and ran before it happened. But so I think that there was and knowing Jeff, like, you always think, oh, well, you have a friendship. Me and Jeff Strangani don't have a real friendship. There's no equity in a friendship when someone remembers your birthday and the other person doesn't. Shaq, I wrote a book with Shaq. I love Shaq.
Yeah.
His only best-selling autobiography. Shaq takes a week to get back to me if that. But the moment he calls, I gotta go, oh God, honey, it's Shaquille O'Neal. But at any rate, but this like Jeff. I like Jeff, and I do consider him more than just somebody I covered. I call him, if not he's a friend in the business, a peripheral friend is on a personal level because we haven't talked about all kinds of. But I do know that he wanted to. His whole life was the Knicks at that point, and he was watching his daughter Maddie grow up and realizing he couldn't spend the time with her that he needed. He had, he had a family life. He just wanted. I think he just wanted to be away from something other than basketball. Yeah. And he probably saw the end coming too, whether it was the players that were playing for him at the time, and he realized that, whoever it was, I think Spree and Camby were still there. That long term, those weren't going to be the answers. They were getting older. I think Jeff saw the writing on the wall and wanted to get out, and basically before they got him. Yeah, I think that was a primary professional reason. A personal reason was he really did want to spend time with family more. It was after 9/11 too, and 9/11 affected everybody.
Yeah, sure.
It didn't matter whether you lived in a condo at Union Square or in Chesapeake or wherever you were, you were affected. Somebody or something happened and made you think about, I only got so many years. It put everybody in touch with their own mortality. I think that was probably part of it too.
Yeah, fair points. And once again, we're talking to former Knicks beat writer Mike Wise and talking about the series The Grudge, Pat Riley versus the Knicks. And this episode will be airing on Vice on Wednesday. So make sure that you guys tap in because I did see it. I was provided with the advanced screener. Shout out to the PR team. And it is great work. You will see Mike on there along with Ira Winderman, who was calling things from the Heat side. And Ira's still there covering the Heat. On the Heat.
God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were so many moments. So many moments from that time. I just not just ugly moments, but tender moments, like where you think oh man, that's not supposed to happen, but it did. So I look back on some of the press conferences were hilarious. What people would say, how they would act. And Riley was at the forefront of it because he could wear his emotion on his sleeve at times where, I remember that after it was 90, not 99, 2000, I think, series is over. I'm one of the last people in his office. I go, hey, Pat, I just wanted to say, thanks for everything. And I go, do you have anything else? And he just went into this whole thing about how I got to remember what this feels like today, the pain, the anguish. And he goes, I go, okay. And he just goes into this thing because you know what? He goes, the people who just win and they don't go through this, they don't know. Because you go through this and you become the winner. He didn't say winning at all. He called himself the way he goes, when we're the winner, I'm going to remember today. It was the whole idea of you had to suffer. You had to suffer deeply to enjoy what winning it all was really about.
Yeah. And the
Knicks made him suffer.
They did. And I forgot who said it on this episode. And they said the Knicks won the battles, but Riley won the war. And that one hit me, man. I said, damn, that is true, man. He's got all the rings. He's got more chips. Hey, one of the greatest coaches to ever do it, man. What was there a favorite player on the Knicks that you enjoyed covering during your time covering the team?
Man, there was so many good dudes, CP, there, and I'm not saying we all had great relationships with everybody. Yeah. I mean, I wrote a classic hole in the head article where I carved Spreewell a new one. Wow, mind you, that they were just how you get delays between magazine publishing. Yeah. And when, so the Knicks are going on this playoff win streak and I'm killing Spreewell in this article. By the time it got out, they had erased this horrible season and almost made the playoffs. And the town was falling in love with Spree. Yeah. And I was public enemy number one in the media. But it just goes to show you, though, you talk about the players, like people were killing me. I wasn't getting death threats, but I was getting ugly messages to my voicemail at work, to everywhere. And, you know, this is
pre-Twitter and all that.
Pre-Twitter. This is pretty, I would have been doxxed. I would have been canceled on the internet. And I just remember going up to Spree after the whole thing. And basically the crux of the article was, it wasn't that Spree was a bad guy, which a lot of people thought he was. I said he was a bad teammate. And this is why, because it was all about, I called it Spreeality. And he saw how to play this way and the rest of, and I remember going up to him and thinking, you know, he's not going to choke me, but he's probably going to say something. I said, look, man, I wrote that piece. I told you I was going to write it and everything. And I was upfront about it, but now that it's out and I know you've heard about it and everything, and, you know, and I just want to see if you're okay with it or not. I just want, you know. And he puts his arm around me. He's walking out of a game. I think that they lost, actually. He looks at me, he goes, Mike, he goes, no offense, man, I haven't read it. That pierced me more than him going, like just going off on me. Like, how could you write that shit? You were wrong about me. Like, I haven't read it, man. Yeah. And it was just like, oh my God, you realize that some of these guys can't tune out everything. You know? Even at that point, like your boys would come talk to you and say, man, you got to give somebody a slap upside their head for what they wrote about. No, there was none of that. It was just like he hadn't read it. And so, but when you talk about guys that just, I mean, Oak was, I can't say enough about Oak. You probably heard all the stories. And I'm not one of these people like, oh, it's the curse of the guard, and Oakley never comes back, they're not going to win it all. But it would be nice if he got in the fold. I don't know what has to happen, because God bless James Dolan. He employs every other former.
Look how Sprewell came back. I never thought Sprewell was coming back.
Yeah,
never. I never thought Sprewell was going to come back.
Anybody that if you were Scott Brooks today and he was fired, he played like a season. James Dolan was like, hey Scott, you want to do some ambassador
community relations?
Community relations. You want to go out to the island, sell some vodka for this company? Yeah. Go ahead. Like that. James Dolan implies to everybody. I wish you would employ former beat writers at this point. but no, you had all these, and yet there's something about Oak, man. Yeah, there's such a realness about him, and you know, you would just go in and you know, and the players talked about, he had his own language. It was Oak speak, you know, and his metaphors, his malapropisms, everything that was about him was funny, and at the heart of it all was his heart. He was an incredible guy. I still remember Isola joking with him in '97 as he's, you know, like about 2 weeks before the All-Star game. And it was in Cleveland that year. And it was the 50th anniversary of the NBA. And they were doing like the all 50 team. But Oak was going home, and he was going to spend time at home, and he was going to, you know, he played for the Bulls. So he was going to have Horace Grant and Michael over with a bunch of the teammates with his mom. And Isola walks in, he goes, oh, Oak, man, you know the tradition, right? And he goes, what? And he goes, you know, the guy who's like lives in the city that the All-Star game and always takes the writers out. And he goes, really, man? And he goes, yeah, no, it's something. And he goes, all right. And he goes, he gets everybody around, and we're like, no, he's not buying this, is he? Is he buying this? And he goes like, I want you all in front of the man. What hotel you staying at? The Key Society Marriott or whatever downtown. He goes, I want you all in front of that Marriott at 8 p.m. on Tuesday night, whatever All-Star week, or Wednesday night. And my boy Ron is going to pick you up from my limo company. And we're like, are you kidding me? Is this happening? And it's like me, Steve Popper, like Isola, I want to say Barbara Barker, maybe a couple other people. And we, like, four of us get into the limo, and in the back is Oakley. And I swear to God, CP, he's wearing a purple pinstripe suit, all purple with like pinstripes, and he's got a hat to match it. And he looked like the purple Barney, and it was like, and it looked like the black Barney. And all of a sudden, I was like, and Isola looks at him, and he goes, "Damn, Oak, you're like the godfather of this town." and he looks at Frank, and he goes, "You're down with the king, ain't you?" And I'm like, "What's on?" And I wish that we had the gravitas of a player or something, because when we showed up at the supper club in East Cleveland. This is Oakley's restaurant now.
Yeah.
And it's All-Star weekend, and there's a crowd outside waiting and seeing this limo pull up like, yeah, Oak brought the players. And like, we're like opening the door. What's up? It's the Riders. It was not a good scene. And then after that, like after he takes us out, he takes us to his mom's house, his mother, Corinne. Oh my God. She cooked us like, I don't know if any person of my skin color has had soul food like this in their lives.
Yeah.
Like, and she would show us like the picture of Oak and his prom date on the wall. And like, oh, like, and Oakley's got this big Jerry curl fro. And he goes, hey, Oak, she's kind of cute. And he's like, someone had to take her, you know? I mean, it was just it made you feel like you were down with the players for a night.
Yeah.
And it was all Charles Oakley wanting to show us his life and who he was about. And he wanted to show us his family. And I still should not have barged in on the card game with him and Drew Pearson and those guys. That was that. Frank calls it the Animal House moment where the big fat kid walks in and he goes, hey, you guys playing cards? And it's like Otis Redding and everybody's like, get out of here, son.
Get out of here. Yeah.
I was not. It was like at some point I crossed the line.
Yeah, you had overstayed the welcome. Like,
I've overstayed my welcome. Like, get back in the car, go back to the Marriott, go get your little Marriott points. Yeah, it's over. Your night is over with us.
The night is over, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'll happen. I think Oak will eventually get back to the Garden. You know, the fences will be mended at some point because, like you said, you know, Dolan's track record. Yes, they'll fall out with the guys, but guys will ultimately come back home. So we'll see what happens there. The fan base is pining for it. So, you know, we'll see there. But, you know, what's your thoughts on the current state of the team? I mean, the Thibodeau era was a fruitful one while he was here. 4 out of 5 playoff appearances. Jalen Brunson, all-star, has emerged on the scene now. He's the captain. Now the Knicks are looking for a new coach. What's your thoughts on where the Knicks are right now?
I mean, it was such a tough one because really, if Tibbs had made it to the Eastern Conference Finals and had gone 6 games, if you said that was the end, if you had go this time last year, if you had said that that's where they would end up this season, you might have said, all right, that's the next step. Now we're one step away from it all. But things changed so dramatically in that week or two when the Celtics went down and they were going to go down irrespective of whether Jason Tatum got hurt. Because when he got hurt, they were winning. So, yeah, they were winning. And so they were going to win that series. The fact that they could beat Boston, the defending champion, and look so damn good at home a couple times doing it, even when those 20-point comebacks, they weren't, and then you would know that Cleveland, a lot of people thought were going to win it if Oklahoma City didn't. That was going to be the eventual matchup. That people thought that Cleveland would finally get over Boston, or the hump of Boston. A lot of people did. But I think that expectations changed so much. And
yes, it did.
I'm not saying it was right because I don't believe that firing Tibbs was right. And I think that you had to give him one more year. You just had to give him one more year to see if he could get them over the hurdle because you're right there. Now they put themselves in a position, in my mind, whether it was Jim Dolan, Leon Rose, whoever, whether the players got together in the exit interviews and said, I like Jeff, but man, he's making, Karl Anthony Towns is like, oh man, I can't deal with his practices or these minutes, whatever it is, whatever led to his dismissal. Now that organization, from player to coach to general manager to owner, has to face the music if they don't go to the finals next year.
Bullseyes
and
on them.
If not win it all, look like they're right there to winning it all. Because I think these windows in the NBA now are so short. You're going into a phase where LeBron James, unless they got a rim protector or somebody like that, the Lakers are not going to contend again.
Yeah.
The Warriors are not going to contend again. None of these guys are getting older. The Timberwolves are probably going to get better. The Thunder's not getting any worse. The Houston Rockets aren't getting worse. In the East, the Magic and the Pistons aren't getting any worse. All the teams the Milwaukee and everybody that's fallen by the wayside now, like, did anybody think that the Detroit Pistons didn't give them a great series?
Yeah, they did. They sure did.
So now you have a window, CP, of maybe 1-2 years where you could say, okay, we're the Knicks. We're going to win this all. If you don't make you can't make roster overhauls forever. I mean, insert Giannis for Cat. Insert no, to me, you have to be there, win it all, and that's a hell of a bar right now in the NBA to get to. And so you've put yourself in that position, and people can bitch all they want about Tibbs and minutes and his inability to make adjustments during games. They also have to look at the playoff wins, and they have to. First of all, you have to just look, and I don't know how you felt about it. I don't know if you felt it was needed or should have happened. I just feel like you have a guy and a roster that got you to a place in franchise history you hadn't been in a quarter century.
Yeah.
A quarter century, 25 years. You hadn't been there, and now you're there. And whatever things you expected in that Indiana series, they didn't happen. And believe me, that game one, there's no excuse.
None.
But remember, Pat Riley lost a game one like that too once. And it forecast his doom down the road in some ways. I don't want to say that history repeated itself, but I hope it doesn't. I hope that this team and this organization get over the top, because anybody that's watching this, anybody that's lived and died and breathed that team. And, I'm from Northern California. I grew up in Hawaii for part of my life. I didn't realize what passion in basketball was till I started covering the Knicks. You guys all deserve it. You deserve it. I mean, I don't want to say this too loud, but Frank Isola deserves it. It would make him a happier human being.
Yeah, he's miserable, man. He's
oh
miserable
my God,
every morning,
he's like, he told me once. He goes, I hope nobody ever says, oh, you're such a great guy when I die. He goes, you know why? Because everybody that dies young, that happens to. I want to be old and miserable.
Well, he's there right now. Shout out to Frank, man. Mike, man, this was a great conversation. Hopefully you'll join us, later on maybe in the off season, next season, man. But we definitely appreciate the time. And anything you working on right now, or any books on the horizon?
I will pump something. I mean, I should tell everybody, and I'm not in witness protection. I'm in Panama right now. My wife is a government employee. I won't tell you what she does, but she got me and the family down here. I am basically being daddy daycare, and I'm writing a book.
Nice.
And this book is his name is Billy Mills. He won the 1964 gold medal in Tokyo in the 10,000 meters. Comes out of nowhere. If you ever want to have fun and Google a 2-minute clip, see how he came back on the last lap. It's like the human sea biscuit. It's crazy.
Wow.
And so his name's Billy Mills. He was he was the only American to ever win the 10K. Think about we have 10Ks every day in America.
Yeah.
Like, we've had one guy to ever win it.
Oh, no, we lose him. Hopefully we don't lose him. That's the Panama internet connection. Do we have Mike?
And hopefully I think it looks like it's going to come out in 2026.
Okay. All right, that's good, man. Give me some tips on writing a book, because I'm working on mine right now. Now, this is more of a memoir, style, where yours is more, research-based. What are the tips for writing a book, especially when you get writer's block, man?
Don't write it with anybody. Frank Isola and I wrote a book called Just Ballin'.
Yeah.
About the 99 season.
Yeah.
Just Ballin', the chaotic rise of the Knicks. He wanted to beat my ass because we were arguing so much over stuff. So don't write it with anybody. But actually, it was fun. I would do it again if you wanted to. But I would say the biggest thing about writing a book is it's so different. It's like, how you have memory muscles for this podcast where you know when to pause. You've gotten to a point where you feel comfortable in cutting a guest off and saying, well, let's get back on point here.
Yeah.
All the things that make you watchable, listenable. This is, it has nothing to do with the book. Just like me writing a column has nothing to do with it. It's like it's like literally taking a big chunk of clay and trying to sculpt it and realizing you got so much excess that if you don't get rid of it, you're never going to have something people can look at and say that was good. And so it's just a different muscle memory. I guess my biggest advice would be discipline, because when you're not disciplined, you can do anything, watch Netflix instead of writing a book. Yeah. But if you write 2,000 words a day, CP, it could be the worst 2,000 words of your life. It could be like you look back on it tomorrow and you go, why did I write that? But you got it on paper, you got it on that screen, and then you can go back and fix and change. If you stick to 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, I don't care what you're writing about and you're passionate about it, it'll come out of you and you'll have something. Now,
right.
Will it be a bestseller? Will it make crazy money? Maybe not. Who cares? If you have it in you, let it come out of you.
There he goes. Well, it'll be Ian Begley's job to do the editing and everything. So I'm sending it to him. So
you got one of the masters.
Yeah. Me and Ian are working on it, man. So once I get some progress, I'll shoot it down to you in Panama. You let me know what you think and come back on the show, man.
Oh, hey, it was happy to be here the first time, and I want to salute you and all your success. I just wish we were talking about the Knicks in the finals this week.
Yeah, likewise, man. Mike Wise, thanks again, man.
CP, thank you, my friend.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the great Mike Wise. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. First guest making his debut here on KnicksFanTV. That was a great interview, wasn't it? I mean, I don't like to toot my own horn. You guys in the chat, you guys are the judge here. You guys let me know what you guys think, but I enjoyed the conversation, man. Not every beat writer has the charisma. So sometimes you got to do more of the driving of the car, more or less. But nah, man, I just ask the questions, and he just flows. That's my first time meeting him. But shout out to him. The PR team who works for Vice hit me up about the series, The Grudge, Pat Riley versus the Knicks. The season finale, the show comes on tomorrow. So make sure you guys check it out on Vice. It's really good, and it's short. It's like 22 minutes, but with the commercials, it'll be 30 minutes if you're watching on regular linear television. But it's really good, and for those of you that were enthralled with that series as much as I was, it's a nice trip down memory lane, if you will, and it goes very quick. I think they paced it very well. So Mike's featured in it. You have Ira Winderman, who covers the Miami Heat for the Miami Sentinel. He's in it. And so they asked me to do this and preview the show and bring in Mike. So this was a good interview, and we appreciate Mike. We appreciate the good people with the PR team who was here to facilitate this. So great job, everybody there. So to everybody in the chat once again, hope you guys enjoyed it, man. Remember to hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. I see my franchise channel members in the chat. Thomas Dennery, my 2 cents. Billy R, how you feeling? Got you open. Let's go. Will Latimer, of course. Who else we got in here? Nicholas Braxton. So to you, Flow 174. How we feeling today? Who else we got in here? Strive says, great interview, CP. Always brings on the good guests on the show. We try to, man. We try to bring you guys value in everything that we do. So shout out to Mike. Tomorrow, Kevin O'Connor will join the show. My guy KO will join the show. We'll get back to the coaching search, and we'll talk some draft. So if you guys have any draft questions, comments, call in or leave it in the comment section. You can email us. You can drop it anywhere in the Discord. Drop your draft stuff, and we'll talk to KOC about some draft with the NBA draft coming up in just a couple of weeks. Okay, what else have you got here? Let's do one of our sponsors, man. Hey, if you guys are looking to buy or sell a car, make sure you guys check out our guys at CarGurus.com. Because making a big purchase should come with confidence and not confusion. Car Gurus helps you cut through the noise, showing you the best deals and in-depth vehicle details so you can feel confident about your purchase. Because when it comes to your big deal, you deserve the best deals. Car Gurus will connect you with trusted dealerships when you're ready, ensuring a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the U.S., so you can find the best deals. Car Gurus also gives you control to shop how you want to shop with the tools, information, and data-driven deal ratings you need. It's no wonder that SimilarWeb estimated traffic shows that Car Gurus is the #1 visited car shopping site. So buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at CarGurus.com. That's CarGurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. Okay. All right, back to it. So yeah, as I said, man, we will have Kevin O'Connor on the show tomorrow. See if we get any more on the coaching search. What else? Well, from today, we dropped the Derek Harper interview this morning, so make sure you guys go back if you guys haven't, man. Yo, the library is extensive. Since the Knicks have been eliminated out of the playoffs, we have so much content. We pretty much doing live streams every day. So make sure you guys are going back on the channel, going on the live tab or videos tab and checking out our content, man, because we've had a lot of great guests and done a lot of great content since the Knicks have been eliminated from the playoffs. Tomorrow, tomorrow is the final. So Thursday we'll do NBA report. We'll do a finals recap. Myself and Dexter Henry as well. So make sure you tap in. Shout out to JC3 checking in from the Czech Republic. Shout out to JC. John Talento, did you see the Cousins video? Yeah. Yeah, Cousins almost got packed up down there in PR. You got to be careful, man. That was pretty funny, actually. Pretty funny. All right, man. I'm going to get out of here, try to get a quick workout in. Everybody at home, enjoy your day. Thanks for everybody for tapping in. Thanks once again to the people at Vice and my guy, Mike Wise. Salute to you guys. See you guys later, man. Peace.